Bonjour and welcome to ENI UK and Europe edition. I'm Christine Benedicto reporting from Geneva, Switzerland. We are bringing news reports from the United Kingdom and Europe and have live reporters on standby ready to give their reports. On the program today, the United Kingdom lowers its COVID-19 alert level. The European Union tackles border restrictions, vaccine rollout, and vaccine passport. We are also joined live today by correspondents from the UK and Europe. From London is Ashley Spiritu. What do you have for us today, Ashley?
Thank you for having me, Christine. It's that time of the year again, Christine, for London Fashion Week. However, of course, because of the pandemic and the whole UK lockdown, the catwalk this year has moved online. I will be talking about that more later on in the show. Back to you.
Also from the UK, we have Rowana Bianca Arvino. What will you be reporting on today, Rowana?
Hi, Christine. For my report today, the Iglesia Ni Cristo, or Church of Christ, steps up in lockdown to promote self-awareness through virtual sign language seminar. Back to you, Christine.
From continental Europe, we have Vanessa Gabbert. Guten Tag, Vanessa. What do you have for us today from Germany?
Hello, Christine. I will be giving an update about the COVID situation here in Germany.
Also with us from Paris, France is Alia Garcia. Bonjour, Alia. What's your report about today?
Bonjour, Christine. I will be reporting about the latest information on the situation and the measure taken by the French government. Thank you.
And then from Marseille, France, we will have Evelyn Calpo give us a tutorial on how to easily give a vase a coastal look. We will then end today's program with a view from our window, and today we get to see Ponte Vecchio in Florence, Italy. First, our headlines. Britain on Thursday lowered the country's virus alert level down one notch from the highest possible, saying a fall in cases had reduced the threat to the state-run National Health Service. Since January, the country has been at the highest level 5, indicating a material risk of healthcare services being overwhelmed and a need for extremely strict social distancing. It is now moving to level 4, indicating a high or rising level of transmission with enforced social distancing. The UK's chief medical officers and the medical director of NHS England said they had agreed to the move as cases have been consistently declining and the threat of the NHS being overwhelmed within 21 days has receded. Prime Minister Boris Johnson has said he is very optimistic that all coronavirus restrictions will be lifted by June 21st, as the vaccine rollout has led to a sharp fall in cases, hospitalizations, and deaths. The UK has administered the first dose of coronavirus vaccine to more than 18 million people. On Wednesday, it reported 9,938 new cases and 442 deaths. Since the start of the pandemic, the country has registered more than 4 million cases and over 121,000 people have died. In Europe, the EU finding a common strategy on how to deal with the pandemic. During a virtual summit on Thursday, the European Commission denounced the border restrictions imposed by several countries like Denmark, Finland, and Germany, whose measures they find disproportionate. While on the other hand, tourist-dependent countries appeal to have travel barriers lifted in time for the summer season. Vaccine rollout is also a hot topic. The region's goal is to fully vaccinate 70% of adults by mid-September, but the current situation is far from the target as only 2% are fully vaccinated to date. Meanwhile, EU leaders are also facing demands from some capitals for a continent-wide vaccine passport. The topic is gathering mixed emotions. Some officials warn that while they back a verifiable vaccination record, they say it's too early to look at using them to permit easier travel. Reasons vary, but one of them is the concern brought by the emerging variants, and another issue is the risk of creating division in the region. Greece has announced, however, that it is moving faster than the EU and confirmed having a bilateral travel agreement with Israel, who's championed the vaccination of its population. They say they are also in talks with the UK, its second biggest tourist market. Time for a break? Please come back for more E&I UK and Europe edition.
Hey there, Arnie Aquino here at Hatley Castle, one of the filming locations for the X-Men series. Don't forget to tune in to Digital Nest only on Net25.
Welcome back to E&I UK and Europe edition. I'm Christine Benedicto. Interesting stories from around the UK this week. One of the UK's main events in the fashion world goes virtual. Ashley Espiritu gives us some details. Hello, Ashley.
Hello, Christine. Thank you. London Fashion Week, yes, it's held virtually this year due to coronavirus. This time last year, thousands flocked to the global fashion event to see designs by Victoria Beckham and Vivienne Westwood just weeks before the pandemic hit in the UK. This time, however, fashionistas will not be squeezing together on the front row with social distancing measures still in place. Instead, they will be following the latest trends from the comfort of their homes. Paul Costello was among those opening the event on Friday. The British and Irish dual national, a 35-year veteran of London Fashion Week, returned to his stylistic roots of the late 1960s Paris using a striking ochre, orange and blue colours. London-based Turkish designer Bora Aksu remained faithful to the look of previous fashion weeks by filming his AW21 collection within the Tate Britain Gallery. Models in his show wore long romantic dresses detailed with embroidery. The silhouettes of the clothing were inspired by revolutionary France and the mathematician and physicist Sophie Germain. Sophie's own isolation allowed her to find the ideas that would drive her for the rest of her life. In that way, she has shown me that even in the bleakest of times, there is always hope if one chooses to seek it, Aksu explained. Back to you, Christine.
Thanks, Ashley, for that information. World-famous designer Victoria Beckham from London was also at London's Fashion Week, right? Can you tell us maybe about some of her designs?
Yes, former Spice Girl and designer Victoria Beckham was there, present at presenting her creation a few days before London Fashion Week. Her collection, which mixes the seasons, aims to be optimistic but realistic, she explained. Beckham has been living under coronavirus lockdown in Florida, where her husband, former England football captain David Beckham, is now one of the co-workers of the American professional soccer club Inter Miami. During the pandemic, the former pop star said, "People still want to dress up, but with a need for comfort." Her designs include military details that evoke a sense of protection and toughness, she added. Her collection also exhibits a lighter, more delicate side, with dresses made from jersey fabric or with prints of flowers and goldfish. The more joyful designs are in stark contrast to the grim outlook for the fashion industry in Britain, seriously impacted by the pandemic. Back to you, Christine.
On a more serious note, can you talk to us about the economic side and maybe the impact of Brexit to this year's London Fashion Week?
Yes, well, the UK suffered more than 119,000 COVID-19 deaths and has been under national lockdown measures since January. The fashion sector, which employs more than 890,000 people and contributed £35 billion to the UK GDP in 2019, has also been hit by Brexit and the end of the free movement between the EU and the island nation. In early February, hundreds of fashion figures, including top former models like Twiggy and Yasmin Le Bon, signed an open letter coordinated by the Fashion Industry Reform Forum Fashion Roundtable, warning the sector risks being discriminated because of Brexit. To increase the visibility of young talent in the pandemic, the British Fashion Council, which represents the industry, has partnered with the social media giant TikTok. The umbrella organization has also joined forces with ClearPay, a group allowing customers to buy now, pay later to boost sales. Back to you, Christine.
Thank you, Ashley, for bringing us this story today.
Thank you for having me today, Christine. I'm Ashley Spirity, reporting from London, United Kingdom, and we live in interesting times.
The Iglesia Ni Cristo Church of Christ holds a virtual sign language seminar in the UK. Rowana Bianca Arena reports. Let's watch.
We all share a fundamental need to communicate. Language is what connects us. It's an essential part of our culture and social life. However, for some who have lost their ability to speak or are hearing impaired, sign language becomes their only means of social interaction. In the United Kingdom, recent government statistics show that there are over 11 million people who are deaf or hard of hearing in the UK, and 151,000 British Sign Language users. In support of this endeavor, the Iglesia Ni Cristo or Church of Christ initiated a British Sign Language seminar as a way to integrate with community by rolling out BSL classes not only to its church members but also to the wider neighborhood.
In the Church of Christ, just the mere fact that we are helping the deaf community and being more involved within the deaf society, it's something that I think the youth, especially nowadays, they focus on so much on education, on having a social life. And my religious group, I believe that being more involved within different organizations, for example, the deaf community, it gives us something that most young people won't have at this current moment, that skill.
The Iglesia Ni Cristo's Christian Society for the Deaf is a project launched under the Medici Family organization. It is aimed to inform, share, and educate. Fluency in sign language can open up new employment opportunities such as career in education, healthcare, and specialized judiciary services.
So what drives me and makes me continue on in learning BSL, British Sign Language, was that seminar. That seminar really inspired me to continue on and really open my eyes into the many aspects that the deaf community have and how we can continue on being more involved and giving the deaf community more opportunities for us to communicate with them. As you know, sign language is a completely different language to the English language, to Spanish, to French, and it's something that I think everyone should continue on learning, or at least attempt to gain some sort of knowledge so we can form communications or talk to those who are deaf or hard of hearing. Come and learn more sign language with us.
In these unprecedented times, effective communication is important to sustain our connectivity. It is a vital part of a functioning social network. Sometimes undervalued, sign language is a truly valuable skill necessary to support our sociocultural learning development. I'm Rowana Bianca Arino, correspondent in EBC UK, and we live in interesting times.
With us today is Rowana. Hi Rowana, could you tell us how successful this British Sign Language seminar event was and maybe share some of the feedback from participants?
Well, Christine, there were around 125 sites with over 160 attendees who joined the seminar online. The instructor, who was from the Christian Society for the Deaf, took his time to teach everyone the basics. The participants were engaged throughout the activity. Some even said that it was an eye-opener for them, most especially seeing the aspects of what the deaf community experienced. They appreciated this opportunity to learn a new skill, and the seminar left them asking for more sessions. Back to you, Christine.
And does the Iglesia Ni Cristo Church of Christ plan to further raise deaf awareness in the UK society?
Actually, Christine, there are. Iglesia Ni Cristo, or INC's Christian Society for the Deaf, CSD, will be holding more free workshops later on in the year to engage further their members and the community into learning the sign language, especially during this pandemic, so they can be skilled in connecting with the deaf or the hearing impaired. It is also a way to introduce the INC faith to the deaf community, which INC recognizes as an important part of this initiative.
Thank you for joining us today, Rowana.
Thank you, Christine. Reporting for Eagle News, I'm Rowana Biancarino, and we live in interesting times.
Time for another break. Please come back for more ENI UK and Europe edition.
Kumanta, sumaya tayong lahat. Saya-saya.
Welcome back to ENI UK and Europe edition. I'm Christine Benedicto. Now, interesting stories in Europe this week. Germany has been in lockdown for months, and joining us today with some new measures being proposed in the country is Vanessa Goward. Hi, Vanessa.
Hello, Christine. Thank you. Despite the general improvements of the infection rate throughout Germany in the last couple of weeks, the government has decided to extend the current restrictions and regulations until March 7, 2021, due to the rising number of cases with the new variant and more contagious version of the coronavirus. The restrictions in place include the following. Private get-togethers are only allowed with one more person not living in the same household. Mandatory mask wearing with a certain standard of the mask, such as surgical masks, N95 or FFP2, applies on all kinds of public transportation and when doing grocery shopping. Also, all employers are being encouraged to allow their employees to do home office where applicable. All non-necessary travels or visits should be avoided. In another press conference, Chancellor Merkel said that the upcoming weeks will be existential, especially in the fight of the third wave hitting Germany. The government also came up with a plan for the weeks to come after March 7. Each federal state can decide about the general conditions of the face-to-face teaching in schools and kindergarten to extend the current restrictions and regulations until March 7, 2021, due to the rising number of cases with the new variant and more contagious version of the coronavirus. The restrictions in place include the following. Private get-togethers are only allowed with one more person not living in the same household. Mandatory mask wearing with a certain standard of the mask, such as surgical masks, N95 or FFP2, applies on all kinds of public transportation and when doing grocery shopping. Also, all employers are being encouraged to allow their employees to do home office where applicable. All non-necessary travels or visits should be avoided. In another press conference, Chancellor Merkel said that the upcoming weeks will be existential, especially in the fight of the third wave hitting Germany. The government also came up with a plan for the weeks to come after March 7. Each federal state can decide about the general conditions of the face-to-face teaching in schools and kindergartens, observing a strict hygiene concept. It is also being checked if teachers can receive the vaccination earlier and be included to the second priority group, since social distancing measurements can only hardly be complied with in such kinds of occupational groups. In all cities where the 7-day incidence is stable and does not exceed 35 new infections per 100,000 residents, further easing of the restrictions can take effect. For example, other non-essential shops can reopen with a minimum space of 20 square meters per person. This includes museums, galleries, and other services. The next conference and evaluation of the situation of all federal states is planned on the 3rd of March 2021. A small city in the north called Flansburg is going into a strict lockdown due to the rise of COVID-19 and the mutation B117 cases. Residents living in this area are facing a night curfew. For at least 1 week, Flansburg residents are only allowed to leave their homes from 9 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon with valid reasons, such as doctor's appointment, grocery shoppings, and work. Many of the clinics in Germany are planning to do the vaccinations also in their respective clinics starting April. The reason for this is to support the vaccination centers so that they will not be overloaded and therefore many people can receive the vaccination.
Thank you for the update, Vanessa. Can you tell us how students are dealing with the restrictions in place?
Yes, due to the restrictions, students have to make use of online classes. As homeschooling might sound the ideal solution, which it is, especially in this time of pandemic, many students still deal with problems when it comes to the personal contact with their teachers. There are still certain situations that are easier when it is explained personally, for example, when explaining an equation. Back to you, Christine.
Dankeschön for today's report, Vanessa. Looking forward to more updates from your bureau.
We will continue to keep an eye on the current situation here in Germany. I'm Vanessa Gawat for Eagle News International, and we live in interesting times. Back to you, Christine.
France continues its fight against the pandemic. To give us an update from Paris, we have Aliyah Garcia with us today. Hello, Aliyah.
Hi, Christine. So for COVID-19 updates in France, as of Thursday, February 25, 2021, there is a total of 3,661,410 confirmed cases, out of which 253,450 people have recovered and 85,321 died. French President Emmanuel Macron pledged that 4 sites on French soil will begin making coronavirus vaccines soon, as the government draws sharp criticism over an inoculation drive that has started off slowly. Prime Minister Jean Castex acknowledged that France started its vaccination program later than the other countries, but said the slow start had been due to the difficulties inherent in rolling out vaccines to older people. French vaccination centers will make an additional 1.7 million time slots available by end of March. Castex also reaffirmed the government's target of vaccinating everybody over 65 by the end of May and all adults by the end of summer. According to Industry Minister Agnès Pannier-Runacher, a French lab will start producing Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine in March, while another will begin making the vaccine from Pfizer and BioNTech in April. France would stick to a 3 to 4 lag between the first and second inoculation for the Pfizer, BioNTech, and Moderna vaccines instead of lengthening the gap in order to get more people vaccinated like some other countries were doing. The French government said that it would hold off from imposing a new COVID lockdown as new infection numbers have stabilized and a vaccination rollout is accelerating. The potential advantages of a third nationwide lockdown in the fight against the spread of the coronavirus have to be weighed against its costs in economic, social, human, and sometimes even the health terms, Castex said. Instead, already in force, including a nightly curfew from 6 p.m., a ban on cafes and restaurants except for takeaway fare, and the closure of large shopping centers and NATO borders restrictions, especially for non-European travel, will be enough to cut infections number. To make sure they do, authorities are getting tougher on those who don't comply. In addition to that, France will apply a localized lockdown, which they know imposed on the coastal areas of its southeastern Alpes-Maritimes department and on Dunkirk in north. Both regions have alarming rates of COVID-19 infections. Over the next 2 weekends at least, residents are only allowed to go out for 1 hour daily so long as they stay within a radius of 5 kilometers from their homes. This new localized lockdown starts at 6 p.m. on Fridays and ends at 6 a.m. on Mondays. So that's the update for France. So back to you, Christine.
Thank you, Aliyah. Merci beaucoup for the update.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you for having me today. Reporting from Paris, France, I am Alia Garcia. We live in interesting times.
We stay in France but go to the south this time. Let's take a quick look at how to upgrade an old vase at home. Here's Feblin Calpo with this easy DIY vase. Let's take a look.
Hello everyone! Nowadays, DIY or do-it-yourself crafts are on trend. So today we're going to make a jute vase. It's easy to make and you can use old vase that you have at home that you are not using.
What we need is a vase, a jute rope, and a hot glue gun. Beginning at the base of a vase, add hot glue to the inside of the rope and pull the rope tightly and work your way around the vase. The vase can give a coastal-like style to your living room, bedroom, or even your kitchen with flowers of your preference. I'm Feblin Calpo for Eagle News International. We live in interesting times.
Thank you for those useful tips, Feblin. Let's end today's program with a view from our window, and today we get a glimpse of Italy. The Ponte Vecchio, or Old Bridge in English, is the oldest and most known bridge in Florence. The bridge, which is made up of wood and stone, was built in the Roman era. It crosses the river Arno at its narrowest point. On top lies the Vasari Corridor, a connection route built especially for the Medici family, who had political power over Florence for more than 3 centuries. Ponte Vecchio has been rebuilt several times, and 43 shops were also added on its sides. Nowadays, many visitors see to it that they get to walk on the bridge, which has become a symbol of the splendid city of Florence. This view is courtesy of Nanette Catalan from Germany. Thank you for sharing this view with us, Nanette. That's it for today's program. Stay safe and keep positive as we bring you more stories next week from the United Kingdom and Europe. I'm Christine Benedicto from Geneva, Switzerland. We live in interesting times.